Hello and welcome to Around the Clock. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. On today's show, we have two guests. The first is Laura Ingalls, an original Ashland native, and she's going to be talking to us about her book, F. Skinny. We also have Mark Oram, the health agent and director for Ashland. We also will have our regular Board of Selectmen update, as well as our Around the Town tour. So stay with us as we head into Around the Clock. Welcome back to Around the Clock. It's time for the Selectmen's Update. This is the information about the board meeting that was held on March 2nd, 2016 at the Town Hall. We had two appointments. The first was with Nat Strasberg, who is our town planner, and he talked to us about some new form-based zoning that will be presented at the May 4th town meeting. He talked us through and showed us some of the new images that are being used for form-based zoning and how it relates to the different areas in downtown. So you can check out the meeting and get some more information on that so that when you come to town meeting in May, you can make an educated decision as to whether or not you want to support that. We also then had an update from Donna Walsh, who is our animal control officer, and she unfortunately had some bad news. There apparently have been some dog bites that have happened at the Ashland State Park. People are taking their dogs there off leash, and they're just letting them run, and there have been some incidences. I'm going to use this as a reminder that the Ashland State Park is actually, you need to have your dogs on leash. I know we have a lot of people showing up there with their dogs off leash, and similar with Warren Woods and then the Warren Conference Center. A lot of people go there, let their dogs go off leash, and we've been having some incidences. The other thing is, if you do take your dogs to any of those places, please pick up after them. Let's make sure that people don't mind having dogs come to those areas. We also approved some minutes. We talked about a vacancy on the Ashland Housing Authority. We had someone step down. So if you are interested in housing or helping people out and volunteering, you can submit a talent bank form to be part of the Ashland Housing Authority. We also finished our appointments for the new Road Traffic Safety Committee. This is a combined committee that has police, fire, public works, and a couple of citizens at large, and we appointed our our fire chief, Scott Boothby, and then the Board of Selectmen member will be Joe Mignani. All of his background in public safety will be very helpful for that. We also appointed, or our town manager let us know that we're getting 2 new light equipment operators for our public works department, and they are David Kaiser and Anthony Pentecost. We then went into Board of Selectmen old and new business. We discussed the Audubon gift money that'll be coming to the town now that the conservation restrictions are just about completed for the Warren Woods area. It's being combined into one conservation restriction covering about 117 acres, and 1 acre will be separate under the care and custody of the Board of Selectmen. We discussed a Board of Health vacancy, and it was decided to announce and let Tara Ward, our town clerk, know to ask her to put it on the ballot. So if you have ever wanted to be a Board of Health member, you can go ahead and pull out nomination papers and get your signatures and submit them by the end of March. We talked about a program called Designer Selection Criteria. It's information and an agreement that has to be in place as we are doing building projects or construction work. So that was approved. We talked about a tri-board meeting to follow up on our budget discussions. And again, a tri-board meeting is between the selectmen, the FinCom, and the school committee. The budget process has been going on for a while, and there's been a lot of discussion, and hopefully you've been following that. But this will be one meeting of all three boards to just finalize and think about the budget that will be presented, or actually the two budgets that will be presented at the May town meeting. We discussed training of open meeting law, and that'll be happening in May after the town election, so that if there are any new board members, they can be part of that training. It will actually be happening, I believe, on May 23rd, but be on the lookout for that. We voted and approved a permit for the Jimmy Fund Walk that happens in September. We also talked about town hall recognitions for past selectmen as well as employees. So that'll be discussed further in some of our other meetings, so be on the lookout for that. We then went into town manager reports. We talked about the OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits, how we can fund that, what our liability and commitment is right now, and we have about a $36 million, or that's what our projected expectation is for those benefits. We talked about water and sewer fees, and there was no increase for fiscal year 2016, which we are in right now, but there will be an increase for fiscal year 17, which is happening as of July 1st, and that was an 8% for water and about a 2.5% increase for sewer fees. So you had a break on your water and sewer for 2016, and you'll see a slight increase. And it's about $18 annually for the average water user for water and about $20 annually for the average sewer user. We got an update on the fiscal year 17 budget, where they're at with that process. We'll be going into meetings. FinCom will be reviewing it, and as we head into our May town meeting. We also got a review of the 2016 annual town meeting warrant. There right now is about 27 or 28 warrant articles that have placeholders, and that will be refined, and by the end of March we will close the warrant and vote to post that so that people can see what's going on. And also our town manager, Mike Herbert, has offered to do town meeting prep sessions similar to what was done previously, so be on the lookout for those. And again, if you ever have questions, let us know. The other thing I just wanted to talk about is, as a community, we have lost some employees, and we did have a moment of silence at the beginning of our Board of Selectmen meeting. We lost Scott Terrain, who was a public works employee and had been currently working. We also previously lost Bill Casey, and then Tom Kinder, who was previously a police chief here in Ashland. For all the employees who worked with any of these people and for the townspeople who knew them, they're all great losses, and our thoughts and condolences go out to the Thrain, Casey, and Kinder families. And if you see them, please share your stories about all these people and what they meant to you here in town. Well, that's it for the Selectmen Update. If you ever have any questions, make sure you reach out to me, Yolanda Greaves, or any of the members of the Board of Selectmen, or come down to a meeting. Stay with us, and I'll be back with more Around the Clock. Welcome to Around the Clock. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves, and I have a very special guest with me today. This is Laura Ingalls. Laura, welcome to Around the Clock.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Laura was raised here in Ashland. I always try to tie our guests into Ashland. Yes. But when she talked about her last name, tell us the interesting fact about your last name, Ingalls.
Yeah, so everybody, I think from the day that I was born, I've gotten Laura Ingalls Wilder and Little House on the Prairie jokes. But one of the things that people ask me all the time, and you jumped right in with this, which I love, is are you related? Like, are you actually related to Laura Ingalls Wilder? And I am. I've done a lot of research on my family's history, and the Ingalls family, all of the Ingalls in the United States stem from two brothers who came over from England in 1628. They came in on a ship with Governor Endicott, but this was before there was even the real state of Massachusetts. Right. He wasn't the governor yet. And so they came and they founded the city of Lynn, Massachusetts. And so they had the oldest brother of the two brothers had several children, and I'm descended from the oldest son, and Laura Ingalls Wilder is descended from the middle son. So yes, there is a family relationship.
So that could be why the writing has come up, right? There's that connection. So Laura's here to talk to us about a book that she wrote called F. Skinny. But before we talk a little bit about the book, let's talk a little bit about yourself, some of your background and how you got to this point.
Yeah. So for anyone that remembers me from my Ashland High School days, I was part of the drama department, and I loved acting back then, and I went on to Syracuse University, and I studied acting and musical theater there, and then I went on to have a 10-year career in theater. I worked in Washington, D.C. area, and then moved down to Orlando, where I was working at Walt Disney World and various dinner theaters in the area, and at several resorts. And so I was really one of the lucky ones in that I got to make my living as a performer like almost from day one. But the other thing that happened, and I think that most people who get into the arts, or especially the performing arts, there's a huge pressure to look a particular way, to like as if we don't have enough pressure on us to be skinny and beautiful and perfect as regular citizens. As soon as you're the person who's on the stage or wanting to be on TV, you are suddenly under like 100 times more pressure to conform to the modern standard of beauty. And I had been dieting since probably the age of 14. I remember going to my first weight loss meetings at 14 years old, and that, I mean, when I say I tried every diet in the book by the time I was 22, I mean like it felt like everything that was popular through the 90s, I did. Right. And then it all kind of came to a head as I was launching this career in theater. And I was so blessed that I ended up working with a woman who was an actress but was also a health coach and an exercise, like she was a personal trainer and exercise specialist. And she really empowered me to start learning about nutrition. So as I started to learn about nutrition and exercise, I had this like aha moment about body image and about how like the difference between giving yourself quality nutrition and dieting, like there's a huge difference there. And so as I sort of dove into that, I this whole philosophy about eating, nutrition, and body image grew out of that. And as my life changed and I changed and my energy levels changed and my athleticism changed, people started to notice in my world. And so they started asking me for advice or what I thought of different things, or just, you know, saying, oh, I wish I could be like you. I wish I could run marathons. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. And I loved talking to them. That was super fun for me. And so I decided in my mid-20s that I was going to go back to school and get some certifications in coaching. And I went back to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition to dive even deeper into the nutrition information I was already learning. I got really interested in science and learning how to read scientific studies. I went back and got certified as a personal trainer. I got certified as an endurance running coach. It was like anything that was interesting to me, I jumped on. All the while I was keeping up this acting career. And so then after I turned 30, I kind of I had done a lot of the things in theater that I wanted to do. I had lived that life and I had really enjoyed it. And now I was asking myself, as an artist, what do I want to say? Do I want to continue to say other people's words and do other people's art, or do I want to make something of my own? And I think at that point, I knew I really wanted to take this philosophy that I had about nutrition and put that on a stage or put it in a book. And so that's what I did. I packed all my bags and I quit all my gigs and I moved back to Ashland at first, and now I'm living closer to Boston. But I moved back, I wrote a book, I started a business, I jumped headfirst into health coaching and personal training and nutrition, and here I am.
Great. So tell us about your book, F Skinny.
Yes, F Skinny. Wink, wink.
Yes.
So a huge piece of my nutrition education and my awakening into my own body confidence is that skinny and healthy are not the same things.
Right.
I can do all kinds of things to cause weight loss. It never lasts. It's never permanent. You always hear that thing like, oh, 90% of diets don't work. Or, people say, oh, I've been yo-yo dieting my entire life.
Right.
And,
my hand goes up.
Everyone's hand goes up.
Yep.
And what I realized was that healthy doesn't always lead to skinny. Sometimes it does.
Right.
Sometimes it doesn't. A lot of times, if you just focus on doing the things that are truly healthy for you, getting foods that are jam-packed with nutrients instead of just lacking in calories, and exercising for the love of movement and doing things that inspire you and get you out the door every day, that sometimes those behaviors do lead to being thinner and weight loss. Oftentimes they do, but sometimes they don't. But all the times they lead to feeling good and feeling confident and better health and, lower blood pressure or lower blood sugar or all of these other things that we're aiming for that really should be our focus. And I think the greatest blessing in this awakening was suddenly being allowed to love my body and how that made me feel every day walking out the door was a complete 180 to how dieting made me feel, which was always bad and like I wasn't okay as in anything about myself. And so I published all of these stories. I collected all of these stories of this journey of going from that first I hate dieting and F skinny and this is so stupid moment.
Yep.
All the way through learning about nutrition and then digging into different interactions I've had with people along the way and some of the crazy things that people have said to me, things people have said to me on stage in front of audiences about weight and about my weight. It's totally socially acceptable to make comments about people's weight.
Right.
We don't think that it is, but if we try to paint it in a positive light, the comment, one of the comments that I most remember was a woman said to me on stage, oh my gosh, you've lost so much weight, you look great. And then she poked my muffin top and was like, you just need to get rid of this and you'll be perfect. On a stage in front of people and
now, were you presenting or was she presenting?
I was presenting and she worked there and she had it was a quiet moment and she came up on the stage. But it's not just because it was quiet didn't mean that people weren't
paying attention.
Exactly. Yeah. But because it was framed in a compliment, I think she thought it was okay to say something like that. But people say all kinds of crazy things. And so I tried to take this journey of letting go of that desire to be skinny all the way through how it opened up the world of health to me. And not only did I feel confident, but I felt I'm healthier than I've ever been.
Yeah.
So that's the journey of the book. And in the hope is that going through those steps and just being very frank and honest about all of those moments might inspire somebody else to start their own journey of letting go of that idea that you have to be perfect and skinny and like a supermodel, and that you can actually love yourself as you are today and then make change from there that feels good.
Well, and it sounds like it's the right time. There's all kinds of conversations about women having to stop hating themselves, and certainly the idea of skinny is not always healthy. Yeah. And it's more important to be healthy and eating foods that are nutritious and helping you get from point A to point B in your day,
Yes.
than whether, than what size you're wearing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have all these false agreements about what skinny is, and I think it's a little different
Right.
for everybody.
Yep.
For some people, it's sex appeal. For some people, it's health. For some people, it's just self-confidence and a sense of being worthy. For some people, it's being taken seriously. I've worked in a weight management clinic for a few years when I was still down in Florida, and one of the patients there was telling the story about how she didn't, how she would walk into a PTA meeting and she didn't feel like people took her seriously because she was obese. And I was like, man, like there's so many things that are wrapped up in body size that you don't even think of until you're talking to different people.
Yeah.
Actually, it's been one of the most fun things about publishing the book is people writing into me with their stories and telling me their own moments and their own associations that they have with skinny and how they are excited to be able to start the process to let that go.
So right now it's only an ebook. How can
Yes.
people get the book if they want it?
So the book is on Amazon.com and it's F#@K. You have to put that in. So
Okay.
F#@K, or if you just look up Laura J. Ingalls,
Okay.
that would also do it. Skinny, so F skinny. And it's available on Kindle. You can read it on your desktop or a smartphone.
Okay.
And then shortly, there will also be paperback versions of the book available.
Okay.
That's
How
coming up.
soon, do you know?
By the end of March, for
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Great,
By the end of March, I'll
great.
have a big party here in Boston.
Well, let us know.
Thank
Maybe
you.
we'll come and do a little more story about you, because I think it's a great story to hear.
Oh,
The sort of the journey that you've come through and where it's taking you. So great. So before you go, I
Yes.
have one more question for you. I have a question I always ask all first-time guests. Is there something about you, Laura Ingalls, that people may not know that you'd be willing to share with our viewers?
Oh man, I wish you would let me prepare for that.
Oh, I never let anyone prepare for that one.
Something that people might not know that I would be willing to share. So my family is going to laugh and my best friends are going to laugh because
Okay.
they all know this about
Okay.
me. But I think the general public, I try to put out this image of a person who's well put together and super confident all the time and always getting out there. And I am the messiest person. I'm like especially when my life gets crazy and my space gets even crazier. It's like a tornado like bombed into my room. And you know what? I don't have time to deal with it.
Right. Okay. So if we're planning on visiting, we need to call first
Call
and
me
let you know.
first and
Okay.
or just be cool with my imperfections.
There you go.
Because I'm trying to be cool with my imperfections.
There you go. Good. Well, Laura, thank you so much for coming on Around
Thank
the
you
Clock.
so
Good
much.
luck with the book. Good luck
Thank
when
you.
it comes out on paperback. And hopefully we'll get a catch up maybe on your next book or the next adventure that you take.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Great. Thanks for watching this segment of Around the Clock. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to Around the Clock. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. I now have with me Mark Oram. Mark, welcome to Around the Clock.
And thank you so much for inviting me to Around the Clock.
Mark is the health agent and director for the town of Ashland. Mark, what does that mean, health agent and director?
Yes, well, it entails a responsibility to the town for public health needs, and I answer to both management and our department and department heads, as well as I answer to the Board of Health. Our Board of Health consists of 5 members, elected members, and they meet on a once or twice a month schedule, and when they can't meet, I act on their behalf. And as it relates to the director part, I work with management and manage people, and that's how that title came about, and it's for the very large variety of public health needs within our great community here.
And what are some of the public health needs that you manage and
Sure.
monitor?
Yeah, needs, and they're just not needs, but complaints sometimes. We prefer just to have routine work.
There we go.
But the routine work would be our food inspections, opening of new food facilities, Other routines are if people are selling their homes and they have an on-site sewage system, we get involved with that. The state has changed many of those regulations,
Right.
so there's a little bit more involvement with that. There's other community sanitation needs that we deal with. One of our favorites that was given to us back about a decade ago was beaver control, which is very difficult.
Did you say beaver control?
Beaver, yes, we deal with that as well, because the state said, okay, Board of Health, you now are the authority, and if it's flooding someone's septic, the water's flooding.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we deal with the flood waters with conservation.
Right.
So, and by the way, as I mentioned, one department, I'm very fortunate to work for a lot of great departments. They all work well. We all work well together.
So beaver control, does that happen much here in Ashland?
It happens more than people know. We just
Really?
had one just recently on South Street where they dammed up the entranceway into the reservoir, the Ashland Reservoir, and fortunately our mosquito control people want water to flow so
Right.
mosquitoes don't breed, and they actually gave a nice presentation just recently at a Board of Health meeting, and so they helped us with unclogging. They hadn't made a hut yet or a dam, but they had clogged the culvert.
Okay.
So they were helpful, but conservation has to be concerned because if we flood someone downstream, we're not
Right.
helping anyone.
Right.
But at the same time, we can't have banks of water building up and causing damage to septic or vegetation and so forth. A lot of people don't realize that's our jurisdiction now.
I had no idea that.
And we work closely with the building department as it relates to any building additions, technical review as it relates to new construction in town. That's a great opportunity for all the development departments and fire and police to get together and go over a project before it gets to the point of planning or our department or others like conservation, so they get the technical side of it. And that's another great opportunity for developers to come in and get some answers ahead of time.
So how does one become a health agent? What's your background?
Yeah, most of the criteria throughout the nation and in Massachusetts is that you would need to have 4 years of science, either biological or chemical.
Okay.
I actually went to school at Framingham State, and actually one of my board members and I were in there together in chemistry lab.
Oh, wow.
Ed Hart and I were in chemistry lab together, and we always used to have fun remembering those days because it's a
Right.
long time ago, but not too long
We
ago.
won't say how long.
So
That's okay.
you have your science degree, and then if you don't, you can get an associate's, but they expect a bachelor's, and then you have to become a registered sanitarian. It's now changing to be called an environmental health specialist, but
Okay.
because sanitarian, that term is slowly disappearing. And, but I am a registered sanitarian, and if you want to progress further, there's masters in public health programs, and I'm fortunate that prior to getting married and having children, I had time to go for my master's, and
good.
I went to BU for that. So those are the progressive states of getting to this field, and experience. May I say experience is number one. I was fortunate. I worked in Marlboro for a couple summers, and then through my college years, and then I was working there for another year and a half, and I had a mentor, and that's the way it's the best way to learn the work that you need to do in this field.
Cool. And how long have you been in Ashland?
Well, you're going to now know my age, maybe. I've been in Ashland since 1983, and I mean it. I've enjoyed all these years. They've all been different years, but, you know, through these years, I've seen a community that, and I really sincerely mean this, that is really my home, because
Right.
I'm here more than I am sometimes at home. And the people are great to work for. The businesses are always great to work for. And I'm not buttering you up, but just the general town is a
Yeah.
great place. I work with great employees and great management. I'm very fortunate. It doesn't happen all the time. And a great board. I've had great members through all these years, and quite a few members through
Yeah.
the Board of Health
Yeah.
through the years with the different boards of health members. You know, so it's
So you mentioned that you work with businesses.
Yes.
Here in Ashland, we've had a number of new restaurants waiting to open, trying to open.
Oh, yes.
We've been hearing about some issues. Can you talk about some of the things that these new restaurants have had to deal with that,
Sure.
that you've had to help them guide them with?
The newer ones are hopefully open now, but there were 3 that I can mention that I know of. 2 were Mexican restaurants, and the other one was a breakfast restaurant, and I couldn't mention their names, but I might be advertising. And they all had their own different situations. 2 of them had the situation of not being brought up to the level they needed to be at change of ownership, and that's to have an exterior grease trap. There is a reason for that too, is that maybe about 10 years ago, the town was informed by the state that we were sending too much fats, oils, and grease into our sewer, and more importantly, we were getting major clogs, and it was costing the town lots of money to take them out, and there was damage to people's homes because it backed up into their cellars and so forth.
Wow.
So with the program, it immediately addressed areas of concern. Water and Sewer Department worked with us, and they said these are areas of concern that need to replace their have a external grease trap immediately.
Okay.
And they do work in a great way because they slow down and they allow the grease to solidify before it goes into the sewer lines. Others, because of the amount of grease they produce or because they weren't troublesome at the time, were allowed a waiver, but with the consideration that when they sold their business, change of ownership, they needed to put an external. Well, external grease traps require a plan to be reviewed by Water and Sewer and the plumbing inspector and our department, and then they have to be installed. So they're waiting on our review can happen quickly because we try to coordinate within a week or two. It's when they need to go out for contract, and that takes time. And then contract is depending, plumbing, sometimes you don't have a lot of plumbers. Sometimes even the people putting in the grease traps are busy putting in septic systems. So coordinating those people can be very difficult for the vendors, and I feel for them. I visited one restaurant. I was saying, when are you going to open? I'm here, you know, because they were all set with the equipment and so forth, but the sewer part wasn't, the plumbing wasn't finished yet. And I felt bad for them the most, but they're open now. I'm so happy for them.
Yes. Okay. Well, Mark, thank you for coming on and talking to us about what you do. And people probably see you in the summer at the farmer's market.
Yes,
as you're checking all the foods.
I wear my health agent hat to inspect, and then I take it off because I have some of my favorite foods down there. And you'll see me walking around shopping. It's a great event, and we really want to promote that too because it's good foods and it promotes public health, good eating. And if I can just say too, that's the type of community that I'm talking about. Ashland's so fortunate. And that's an example of other areas in Ashland, like Ashland Day, the farmers market. I'm fortunate to work around, and I have to be the regulator at the beginning of these.
Of course, you have to do your job.
But they all have worked with me in a great way and understand my part, and then I always love being a customer too, so it's a great place to work, and I thank you too for making it the way it is.
Good. Well, before I let you go, there's one question I ask all new guests who come to Around the Clock.
You didn't prep me for this. I have nothing
I
here.
do not prep anybody for. Is there something about you, Mark Oram, that not too many people know that you'd be willing to share with our viewers?
I guess there is. Now it's an age thing again. I love candlepin bowling. Do you even know what candlepin bowling is?
I do know what candlepin bowling is.
I've been on the league for 22 years, and I bowled prior when I was younger, but I do love candlepin bowling. I find it a great challenge, and I enjoy it.
I have to admit, I moved to Massachusetts just before my senior year of high school, and I came from Pennsylvania where it was always 10-pin, and I had some friends, and they said, let's go bowling, and we went bowling, and I'm like, this isn't real bowling, and it was candlepin.
Challenging, isn't it? Well, thank you so much. And if I'd be remiss not to mention, it's been a sad month for us. It's the month of March 2016. And I've been here for a while, so we've lost some fellow employees. And today was a sad day for the town, for the DPW, for all of us. We lost Scott Terrain, who was a great guy to work with. One of his former people he worked with, Bill Casey, passed this month as well. And we worked with Tom Kinder too, a previous police chief. So, as you know, but they're all good people that have been here, and the town's very fortunate to have had them as employees as well.
And thank you for mentioning all of those. And it is like a family here. And,
it is.
And people who get to know each other, and for someone like you who's been here a long time.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on Around the Clock.
Thank you
and
very
I'm sure
much.
as things come up, we'll have you come back.
I'd love to come back. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
That's it for this section. Stay with us, and we'll be back with more Around the Clock. Welcome back to Around the Clock. It's our Around the Town segment. Lots been going on. We haven't gotten footage, all of it, but we have some things we would like to share with you. Food seems to be a very common thing here in Ashland, and we're going to be talking about it for a couple of items in our Around the Town segment. The first is the Boy Scout Troop 23 Pancake Breakfast that was held a couple weeks ago at St. Cecilia's. And we also have footage of the Boy Scout Troop 2 pancake breakfast, also held at St. Cecilia's. In both cases, the older scouts were the ones cooking and preparing, and the younger scouts were helping by serving and cleaning up. They were both fundraisers for the troops for some of the activities that they do. Hopefully you had the opportunity to enjoy some of their pancakes, and I hope that for both troops it was a very beneficial fundraiser. The next item is the Chili Fest that was hosted by the Ashland Lions. The winner of the Chili Fest was Owen O'Leary's. I had the opportunity to go and attend, and it was always good to try some new chili. This was different. They usually do a clam chowder fest, so the Chili Fest was a little bit different. They had a great turnout, and again, it was a fundraiser for the Lions, and that's another organization that does some really great things for our community. We're going to continue with food. There's been a number of restaurants that people have been patiently, or maybe not so patiently, waiting for to see when they were going to open, and all of them have now opened as of this recording. The first to open was Mexico City. They moved from their old location and then moved into the Old Corner Pub spot, which is over by Stone Park on 135. The owners did a wonderful job in the renovation, and I had the opportunity to stop by, and there was a long wait. The food was very good. They've always done a lot. They've always had great food, and they also give back to the community. So if you're on the Hopkinton side of town and you want to check out Mexico City over there by Stone Park, again, good food, and congratulations to them for getting their business open. We also have a new breakfast and lunch place here in Ashland. This is called 33, I believe it's 33 All-American. It is in the Market Basket Plaza on 126. They have a sort of 50s vibe to the restaurant. Breakfast and lunch is all they serve. They have some great options for pancakes and omelets, so check them out as well. And then the last one that has just opened is another Mexican place, and this is Las Cobos. They just opened as we're filming today, and they are across the street from Shaw's. I'm looking forward to checking them out. I believe they're Ashland residents who are trying to give us more options here in Ashland. So please check out these new businesses, give them your business, as well as all the other restaurants in town. As a community, we say we want more business, and to have business, you have to go and pay your dollars and use their services. So please make sure you check out all these 3 new restaurants as well as some of our other restaurants. We've also had an election. It was the presidential primary as well as voting for state committees and town committees. So we got some information, and we had about 4,900 people go out and vote, which is almost 50% of our registered voters. And we have about 10,000 registered voters here in Ashland. We had 3,100 pull Democratic ballots, and we had 1,800 people pull Republican ballots. Now, that does not mean that's how many we have of each party. Actually, here in Ashland, about 50% of our registered voters are unenrolled, meaning they can pull whatever ballot they would like. Now, my one vote and my one comment is I would like to encourage all of you who voted in the March 1st primary to also come out to the May 17th town elections. There are many seats on the ballot, and it's also going to be the operational override. So you can vote locally and have a larger impact than just voting for presidential. So we hope to see those same or more people come out to our May 17th election. Our last stop on the Around the Town tour is not necessarily in Ashland, but it's one of our visits out to Boston Ballet at the Opera House in Boston. They've kicked off their spring season with the Ballet Onagen. It was at the end of February and into early March. It was a dramatic, suspenseful ballet, and it was a love story with grand staging and a small but strong cast. They kick off their spring season usually with a story ballet, which they did, and then they'll have 3 more ballets this spring. The first will be Kaleidoscope, which is happening March 17th to the 26th, also at the Opera House. Then they'll have 2 other pieces. They'll be doing Swan Lake and Mirrors. Now, both of those are happening around the same time. Swan Lake is scheduled from April 29th until May 26th, and Mirrors is being performed May 6th through the 28th. So they'll be switching different weekends for those performances. Boston Ballet is always a great company to go see. So if you're looking for a night out, pick a ballet, grab some friends, and go have some fun in Boston. Well, that's it for that section of Around the Town. Stay with us, and we'll be back with our closing segments of Around the Clock.
Would have been huge for Hopkinton. Meanwhile, Leone has it. Pulls up for the deep two. And a timeout call. Well, a big moment for Samantha Leone, the senior star of this Ashland team, scoring a 1,000th point.
Yeah, definitely. That's a huge accomplishment in any type of sport, scoring 1,000 points. We have a banner over here for the Hopkinton 1,000 Point Club. As we can see, there's less than 10 people who have ever done that in Hopkinton history.
As we wrap up the show, I want to say thank you to Laura Ingalls for coming in and speaking with me, and also thank you to Mark Oram. I hope you found both of those stories interesting, and if you'd like to find out more about Laura, you can go to fskinny.com. And if you have any questions or issues for our Board of Health and for Mark Oram, you can reach them through the ashlandmass.com website. As we close, I just want to again send my thoughts and condolences to the families of Scott Torin, Bill Casey, and Tom Kinder, all valuable employees for the town of Ashland. So, stay warm. The weather's going to be changing. March has come in like a lion. Hopefully it will go out like a lamb. And we will see you on our next Around the Clock.